Look, when you talk about ships passing, and it's just really weird because, again, we're both in the same city, Cal, but we've still not managed to do a show together.
No, we haven't yet, and we're getting close. So I think we're over the next few tests. I reckon we'll finally get it done. But yeah, ships passing in the night. We're nearly there, though. I reckon we're close.
We're close. We're close. It's just, I like to think of this as COVID safe. It's COVID safe times out today. And we're going to do it the right way because it's just taken over everything. But in the meantime, let's get on with the show.
Fire up.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Timed Out, a special Boxing Day test preview edition of the show for Sporting News Australia. Hopefully you've subscribed and you've made sure that you can watch every episode of the show. If you haven't, please do give us a like and a subscribe so that you can always come and join us. And hello to everyone who is joining us. There you go. Send us your questions in the live chat. I can see Martin Lawrence has been on earlier. Hello, Martin.
He's on early.
He's on early. He's a dedicated cricket fan. And this is something, look, we're going to come to this very shortly, Martin. So stick around because we are going to talk about England's batting. But yeah, first up, let's get into it, shall we? Because there is so much. Our first topic, Aussie bowlers fit to go. Interesting. They've brought Scott Boland into the squad, which suggests maybe that Josh Hazlewood might not be quite over that side strain, or maybe Australia don't want to risk him. And, you know, you've got Pat Cummins coming back after that weird COVID episode. Presuming Josh Hazlewood doesn't play, how do you reckon that bowling attack might line up?
Yeah, it's a good question. And what we've seen already is the depth of the Australian bowling lineup being tested, obviously, in Adelaide with Josh Hazlewood and Pat Cummins being forced to miss that test. So at the moment, it looks like Australia have got the depth to cover. I don't get the feeling that Josh Hazlewood's going to get up. I think he's going to miss again. And that obviously leaves the door open for one of the two quicks that came in, Michael Nessa or Jai Richardson, to hold their spot. And you'd probably have to have Jai Richardson just ahead after 5 in the second innings and looking lively in the first innings, but not quite able to have the impact he would have liked, as he mentioned in a couple of interviews. So I still feel like they'll go with Richardson. Michael Nessa will be really unlucky, but that's assuming both of them and obviously Mitchell Starc all came through that last test unscathed. Obviously, we saw Mitchell Starc grabbing at his side while he was batting, bowled the house down in the second innings. Even though that was after his batting innings, he still managed to bowl really well. But that's not to say that he's clear of any damage. So, assuming those 3 quicks get back up, I think it'll be Richardson that holds his spot. But we'll have to wait and see because Scott Boland's been brought into the squad, and usually that's only when there's a couple of concerns in the lineup. So we'll have to wait with bated breath, won't we? Because I feel like there might be something just lurking under the surface. That's just my gut feel at the moment.
I'm a bit worried. I've lost you there, Cal.
Yeah, okay. I can
are you back?
No problems. Yeah, I was just waiting for a response to what I said. Did any of that go through?
This is the problem with COVID safe. Oh. Technical difficulties. I think I might have lost Callum. Let's just see if we can get him back. Okay, guys, hang around.
Here we go.
Oh, no, he's back. He's back.
That's better. Yeah, yes. I've changed my internet over. Hopefully that makes a difference.
Look, at least it's not as bad as what happened for the Gabba test. We're just, technical difficulties
Well, we lost
following
the
the
picture
Ashes around
altogether, didn't we?
everywhere we go. Let's have a look at
I'm still here.
Exactly. Let's move on to our second topic. If the guys can hear me, England's bowling dilemmas.
I've got you.
Now, it's sort of funny talking about England's bowling. You've got me? Good.
Yeah.
England, it looks like they may bring Hakeem Mahmood into the squad. But they're talking about, obviously bringing Mark Wood back. They had Jack Leach for the first test, which was probably where they could have played an all-seam attack, and then they didn't have him at Adelaide Oval. I know how important you think spin is. It feels like they just keep getting it wrong. And so I wonder what would you do when it comes to this test match? Because they look like they're all at sea. The irony is we're talking about their batting, and they're talking about their bowling changes, but it's their batting that's a big problem. But we'll get onto that. Who would you pick for the bowling?
Yeah, look, I feel like it's really important that they do bring a spinner into that attack. So whether it's Leach or Bess, that's for them to work out. Look, I think it's probably Bess spinning away from the left-handers in the Australian lineup. If they're going to continue to invest in him, it's going to be really important that they give him opportunities when the timing's right. And at the moment, the Australian side is stacked full of left-handed batters. The MCG, well, we're hopeful that it's going to take turn late in the game, day 4, day 5. So I think it's really important that they bring one of the spinners in. And if I was to pick one, because it seems like England have completely lost faith in Leach, if they're not playing him at Adelaide Oval, then it needs to be Bess. So for mine, one of the spinners has to play. Mark Wood must play. At the MCG, there's a history of reverse swing and those real hit the wicket bowlers being really crucial. So his airspeed is going to be crucial. I think Ollie Robinson holds his spot for mine, no doubt about it. So therefore, it's a matter of probably picking one of Jimmy Anderson or Broad, and I feel like at the moment it's probably going to be Jimmy. It feels like he's probably just had it over Broad at this point. But again, you've probably got to weigh up whether that around the wicket attack line with Broad to Warner is worth going with again. It just feels like generally when it's line ball, they go with Jimmy in recent history. So I think I'd probably go with Broad. Just that right arm around the wicket, attack Warner at the top, and I just feel like he's got a little bit more zip than Jimmy Anderson. So I'm not sure if you can hear me, Mel, or not.
Yep.
I'm not getting a bit of a blank face from you, but that's where I lie with it at the moment. I'm not sure what your thoughts are. What do you feel like they're going to go with?
Well, I definitely agree. I think Wood is going to come back in. No question of that. And Ollie Robinson has been outstanding for them. I agree that it'll probably be one or the other of Broad and Anderson. And then you've got the question of the spinner. I mean, let's just remember that we ended up having Ollie Robinson bowling 3 overs of off spin at Adelaide, and we have Milan coming in. Root is the second highest wicket taker of the series for England. So whether or not they feel like they will just stick with that and they still need, both Jimmy and Broad, or if they bring Hakeem Mahmood in, it feels like it's a mess. But I agree with you that they'll do one, and they probably will realise it could be flat. It's quite flat, the MCG. I can't see them going in without a frontline spinner. Go with the Ducks, boys.
Yeah, well, we can go to Ducks, but I'm going to quickly say that I think it'll be Broad in this test match, and they'll hold Jimmy back for another opportunity, potentially down in Hobart, where I feel like he's going to be quite dangerous with that swinging ball. So that's just a little PS on the end of that.
You're always allowed a PS, Cal. All right, let's bring in our next one. I'll bring in some comments as well too. How can England shore up their batting? So this goes back to Martin Lawrence with his question about what England should do with their team, especially at the top order. I can see one from Vasanth Narain who says, batsmen with decent technique are struggling against good bowlers. Can Rory Burns survive with his technique, and can England win with 80-mile-per-hour bowlers and flat pitches? How can England's batters improve? Who cares what they do with the bowlers in a way, because I don't think it matters unless they actually can stop the batting. Where do you see that? It's my feeling is that they're going to have to turn to maybe Zach Crawley. They've got to make changes, haven't they? Probably for Hameed, or possibly for Hameed. I read a very good article by Will McPherson in the Evening Standard, who suggested that, maybe you could play Joss Butler as a specialist batter for Ollie Pope and bring Johnny Bairstow in as to have the gloves, because Bairstow averages more when he plays as a wicketkeeper, and Butler averages more when he doesn't. Yeah. So perhaps there's some of the changes that we might see, but there's too much on Root, Milan, and Stokes, and we saw a bit of grit from Butler, but I just think there's so much pressure on those guys that they're batting as if the weight of everything is on their shoulders, because they know if they don't have the confidence of Travis Head in his teammates to be able to bat the way Travis Head does. What are your thoughts on that, Cal?
Yeah, look, I'm not sure you can go back to Burns again. I feel like at the moment he's a bit of a shot duck, and it's been a torrid time for him so far, and it just feels like he looks like he's nervous when he's walking to the crease, and he's trying to put on a front. So, yeah, look, I'd be making a change, and if it's Crawley, yep, great. James Bracey made 100 in the Lions game not that long ago. He's a top order player, so could you open with him? I think you're more likely to go with Crawley. Have you got me there, Mel?
Yeah, I have. I'm just thinking, I'm not entirely sure if James Bracey's still here, because this is a problem. England have sent all the Lions home, so they're slim pickings.
I wasn't sure.
So
they've all gone already. Sure. Are they gone? All of them?
Yeah, most of them have gone, I think, except for the ones who stayed for the big bash. So that's why you had people clutching at straws going, well, James Vince is still here. It's a bit of a worry.
Yeah, I mean, if you start going to the guys that are just here because they're playing big bash, I think you're in trouble. I mean, it surprises me that the only guy that really fired a shot in that Lions 4-day game against the Australia A team, the only guy that looked like it in making a big 100 in Bracey has gone home. So really,
I'm not 100% sure.
They need to make a change. That's okay. Yeah. So look, the fact of the matter is you've got to first and foremost go to the guys that are in the immediate squad already. And Crawley's the guy. He's shown form previously, fell out of favour, but he's a guy that we know has ability, and he's still got plenty of years ahead of him. Not too many teams. I think is it back in the 60s, the last time a team came from 2-0 down in an Ashes series. It's a long shot. Maybe it's worth getting a young guy in, and if you're going to follow that theme, then it's Dom Bess as well instead of Leach. But they're in a world of pain at the moment, the England side.
They really are, and I mean, you can just see at the moment. You could almost make a case for David Milan opening, because he's pretty much going in now in the first couple of overs. So whatever they do with the bowling, I just don't know where England go with batting, because there's a lot of these.
Yeah,
they're actually
there's
honing
a lot
in
of those.
Yeah, well, they're honing in. I think they're only a few away from the record for most ducks in a year by a team. So that is the worry. Yeah. So let's bring up our next topic. I don't mind the call though
I don't mind your call on bringing in Bairstow though. I didn't comment on that. I do like that idea. I think that might be the best way to go, because Ollie Pope, the minute Nathan Lyon comes on at the moment, he looks all at sea. So I think that's a good call.
Yeah, and that's the other thing about Zach Crawley as well. But interestingly, I think, he made a 200, but then he's averaged 11 this year. But he was really struggling against spin, and they've obviously played in India and against India so much. But he does have that same, Ollie Pope obviously struggling, but maybe Zach Crawley coming in up the order might be able to make a bit of a difference. We shall see if he comes in. Yeah. Next topic, please, guys. Root and Silverwood under pressure. And I know a comment there from Martin Lawrence again saying, what did you make of the comments from Captain Joe Root in the post game? It was all very weird. It was like almost that the bowlers hadn't learned, but then what were they saying? Tell me that obviously Ashes tests, when you lose, you're going to be under pressure. Root's now come out here. This is a second time as captain. And Australia are dominating. It'd be pretty rare for a captain to survive 2 lost Ashes series. Silverwood, they just seem directionless from the outside. And you just wonder what they're talking about when they go in for lunch or tea and the plans aren't working, because they seem to sort of come out and make the same mistakes.
Yeah, it's been tough viewing, no doubt about it. I found the comments interesting, but not unsurprising. They did bowl too short. And I think I spent the majority of the first 2 days talking about that when I was commentating. So, look, it's not a surprise he came out and said they bowled too short. I'm not sure I 100% agree with some of the commentary around the fact that he was just putting all the blame and laying it at the feet of the bowlers. I think that there was room in what he said for him to still be suggesting that it was a skill error, because I just can't for the life of me believe that a captain wouldn't be talking to his bowlers about their lengths while it's all happening. Like that, I would never have experienced that. So they must have been talking about it while it was happening. There has been public comment from a number of the bowlers, or a couple of the bowlers that are in this lineup at the moment that played in Adelaide, who have publicly said they don't like to go for runs. Now, that's going to naturally affect your length. You're going to naturally drag your length back a little bit, not want to be driven, not want to be scored off. And that's an issue. If you're trying to pitch the ball up, you've got to be willing to have runs scored off. You've got to be willing to be driven back down the ground. And it's a risk-reward game. We know that. That's cricket. So if they were too stubborn to be willing to pitch the ball further up the wicket and ask the opposition to drive, then that's the biggest issue in the lineup at the moment. And, we saw the English bowlers, when they were willing to pitch it up in the second innings, they saw results, and it's as simple as that. So if they don't, one of the guys in that attack, Jimmy Anderson, has definitely been one of those bowlers that's come out and said, I don't like to go for runs. So as a leader in the attack, people are naturally going to speak to Jimmy about, what do you think in this situation? Now, if he's, and this is, I don't know this, but if he's talking about a back of a length attack, then the younger players are going to follow, and the less experienced players are going to follow that. So whether Jimmy was leading that idea of going for less runs, I don't know, but certainly his economy rate was outstanding again. But the impact of bowling back of a length in that first innings on the rest of the game was extraordinary. So that's something they need to look at going forward in this series. If they're not willing to pitch it up in the first innings, they're not going to give themselves a chance to win any of these test matches coming up, because they're already miles behind. They have to win. They have to pitch it up, in my eyes.
Okay. Now, after the Ducks, a little PS from me on this one. I actually was there for a conversation. I won't say, there was a former player and a current player in the series having a discussion, and the former player was basically questioning why you bowl maidens, and saying, are you bowling maidens just to bowl dry, or are you bowling maidens to create pressure in order to take a wicket? And he was saying that was a really important mental distinction that changed your approach. And I was pretty interested to see this conversation happening, because it's a sort of conversation that I would be expecting the coaching staff to be having with the players, and maybe they are, I don't know. But it was really interesting to me to see that conversation between one of the England players and a former player in just that whole concept of why are you bowling dry? Why are you doing it? So that sort of relates to what you said. And I thought that was really good.
That's a really good conversation to have, because that's going to change depending on the scenario of the game. I feel like in the first session with a new ball, maidens aren't really what you're after. Whereas if there's a big partnership already formed, then it might be that you're trying to create pressure by bowling dry and bowling maidens to then create the opportunity for wickets on the back of false shots due to pressure. So they're just two examples. But for mine, I think there's a lot of pressure on Root and Silverwood. I think the tactics for games of cricket really do start at the toss, but even before then, they start probably half an hour before that, even a day before that, when you start selecting a team. And they have been miles off the mark, and it has significantly hampered their ability to compete.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, let's bring up our next topic, please, and then I will bring in some comments as well. It's coming.
We've had a few today.
Should Harris? Yeah, we have. And I am going to get to them, guys, so hang in there. Should Harris stay? Probably the one blip when it comes to Australia's batting lineup has been Harris not being able to sort of get stuck in and make a score. We spoke before the series about, you had a lot of support for Usman Khawaja opening. Do you think it's at a point where Australia should stick with Harris for another game? Or, they're usually loath to make changes to a winning side unless it's forced by injury or players coming back. Would you like to see Usman Khawaja come in, or do you think Australia just have enough batting prowess at the moment that they can stick with Harris and hope that he plays himself in at some point?
Yeah, look, I'm a bit in agreement with that comment around winning teams changing, for the sake of it. That you're never really making a change for the sake of it, but you're certainly making a change because you believe it gives you a better chance to win the next Test match. Now, Marcus Harris knows the MCG pretty well. He's played a lot of his cricket there, made a lot of runs there. He understands the ground well. I do feel as though at 2-0 up, and as I mentioned earlier, that it's the 60s since the last time a team won from 2-0 down. So I do feel like Australia are so far ahead at the moment, and on the back of George Bailey saying we're giving Harris every opportunity, we're going to give him an extended run. They're not going to make a change after 2 Test matches, regardless of how he went. I mean, if he went 0-0, 1-0, or 3 scores in the single figure, 4 scores in the single figures, it'd be a different scenario potentially. But he made a good start in his second innings in Adelaide. Showed some good signs, I thought. If it was 1-0 or 1-1, then I would have been more of the feeling that they would make the change. I don't think so at 2-0. So I think they'll stay with Harris, and I think that's the right call, specifically after making the call earlier. We're going to give him an extended run. In my eyes, 2 Test matches isn't an extended run. And at 2-0, they can afford to give him that extended run. So I think they do that. What do you think?
Yeah, I think I completely agree with you. It's all, if they were down, if they were in trouble in this series, they probably might look to it. But I actually quite like the fact that George Bailey has said we're giving him an extended run, because how often do you see it affects players' confidence, and he's had a couple of really good balls as well. So that's going to happen. And just to give them the confidence to play themselves in. Who knows? This series could be the making of Marcus Harris if he gets it's as it has seemed so far to be for Travis Head. It's really worked for him, and if they get the confidence in there, then I'm absolutely all for that. So I reckon stick with him. That's my thing on that. Yeah, we've beaten the Ducks, so I'm going to bring in a couple of comments. One from Nanda Kishore Koropal, who says there's no harm in losing, but the surrender should not be this meek. That's what is incredibly disappointing, I think, for sure. But you go back and look at that, man. How significant was Joe Root getting hit in the knackers? Because he got out so soon after that, and that obviously played a really big part. We saw how soft the ball was and how flat the wicket was the next day. If he'd been there to sort of, keep going the following day, all of a sudden you're looking at how long Joss Buttler hung in there. It could have, they could have pulled off maybe a miracle draw.
Yeah. It's not nice when you get hit in the nether regions, and certainly can take a while to recover. It's not often you see someone that sore. And he looked very, very ginger and very, very sore. And to cop another one then would have made it a real mental challenge for him, not just a physical one. So there's no doubt it may have, there's no doubt it would have affected his play. Whether it was the reason he got out, I'm not sure, but it would have made it more difficult for him out there. And Joe Root at the wicket for day 5, it would have been an entirely different proposition for the Australians to try to deal with. So it really did play a huge role in that last day, I've got no doubt.
Yeah, and a comment from Vasant Nareen again. Should England let Stokes play like Pant plays because he's not suited to defensive play, and get in Sibley, who can grind in the middle order? Your take if Sibley can play that role? Look, Sibley's another one, again, whose technique, unusual technique might make it difficult for him to score. But I think, again, that you can't let Stokes play like Pant if England have lost a bunch of wickets and are just trying to stay in the game and stay alive. And I guess that goes back to the point I make about why Travis Head can play like Travis Head is playing.
Yep. Yeah. Look, Travis is playing an outstanding role for the Australian cricket team at the moment. And it helps when you've got players around you playing well. At the moment, there's only 2 players really in that lineup that are playing well for England. And that makes Ben Stokes' role really difficult. So he's constantly coming in under the pump with no real freedom. One of the great things about Ben Stokes is his ability to play both styles at that number 5 role. He does it better than just about anyone in world cricket. And England are under the pump with the bat at the moment. So inevitably he's going to be under some pressure, and it's going to be difficult for him to find a groove. He's done really well at times in this test series with the bat so far. It hasn't been a great series for him yet. There's still 3 test matches to go. I think he's just got to keep reading the game in front of him, keep playing his way and assessing what's going on in the game. So I'd encourage him to keep watching what's happening and keep reading the play and playing instinctively on the back of that. I think someone like Sibley, who is so used to opening the batting, would find it really difficult to come in and start against someone like Nathan Lyon, who's a high-class spinner who's going to put you under a lot of pressure from ball 1 when you come out to the crease with men around the bat on turning surfaces like Adelaide, even the MCG. So not for me, not Sibley into the middle order. I think the more likely role change will be potentially Zach Crawley coming in with... Look, I think if he comes in, he goes straight to the top.
Yeah. I think
so that would be the only change that I would make. Yeah.
Yeah, and I can see Pavan Pingle saying, how about James Vince in next test? Look, if you're talking about bringing in James Vince, as I said, because he's at the Big Bash, you may as well just start throwing darts on a board. They've got the squad. It's not like England are hiding any superstars out the back who have done better. Then probably the sad thing is that you could argue that there may be better players who could be suited, but it's not like they've just been, picked their second best team. Although some people might, say something about that, but they just don't have a whole heap of top-notch replacements. It's pretty sad, but we're not going to let that stop us from enjoying the Boxing Day test. And who knows, it could be a Christmas miracle for England.
Never know. Honestly, it's a funny game, cricket. So if you can get Joe Root and David Milan set at the crease to go big in the first innings, you really do never know. And they're two guys that are in form, and they're both guys that have the ability to score big hundreds, not just hundreds. So if they can get ahead in the game and they play a spinner and give themselves a chance to defend something on a day 5 wicket, they're a chance. And look, they've got match winners in their lineup. Let's not forget that. They've not played well in the first 2 tests. That doesn't change the fact there's a few match winners in that lineup. Not as many as the Australian team, but they have some match winners. So their backs are against the walls now. They've got to start swinging.
Let's see. Yeah, they have to start swinging. Well, we'll find out. Thanks all of you for joining in and for all your great questions and comments. We really appreciate it. And I think it's time to say also a very Merry Christmas to all those who celebrate Christmas and enjoy the holidays.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and you have a happy Christmas too, Cal.
And you too, Mel.
Yeah, well, I look forward to seeing you at the MCG, and we'll get together for one of these at some point. Yes, it will.
Yeah, it's exciting times, great time of year. So it's let's wish everyone a happy festive season, and we'll see you on the other side.
We will do. See you at the Boxing Day test, everyone. Take care and stay safe.
See you guys.